Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Beyond the Bites, a show that decodes the trending issues of the region. I'm your host, Navrun Goswami. Well, viewers, growing air pollution has emerged as a serious concern in Guwahati, with vehicular emission and dust contributing a major share of the deteriorating air quality. If this was not enough, open burning of solid waste disposal has added to the problem manifold. Among the fastest growing cities in the country, is Guwahati unable to cope with the rapid urbanization? Are things getting out of control in a hurry? And is enough being done to reverse the situation? To try and find answers to these questions and much more, we have with us an expert group of panelists. I have with me, to my extreme left, is Professor Sharad Gokhale from the Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Guwahati. Thank you so much, Professor Gokhale, for joining us at Beyond the Bites today. I also have with me Dr. Mayuri Chabukdara from the Department of Environment Biology and Wildlife Sciences, Cotton University. A very warm welcome, ma'am, to the show. To my right is Dr. Pranab Nath from the NGO Environ. Welcome, sir. And to my extreme right is Professor Rahul Mahanta from the Climate Research Center, Department of Physics, Cotton University. A very warm welcome to all of you. Thanks for being here today. Well, I'll come straight to you, Professor Gokhale. Serious concerns, air pollution, water pollution, whatever. Pollution has reached serious levels in Guwahati, so much so that today it is being termed as one of the most polluted cities in the whole world. Big concern?
Well, according to me, the situation has not become grave yet, but it is certainly alarming. And therefore, we need to take proactive steps in order to, take control of the situation, to control the pollution of various types. Air pollution is one of the things that I would talk about, is everybody is concerned about, because the respiratory related illnesses are on the rise because of the growing particle concentrations in our atmosphere, in Guwahati's atmosphere. And what I mean by alarming means, we have been monitoring pollutant levels in and around Guwahati for several years now, and I have noticed that the levels which we noticed about 10 years back, 12 years back, today there has been a drastic increase in those levels, in the levels of various pollutants, particularly particles, particularly oxides of nitrogen, and so on. So of late, we have also realized that it is not only the vehicular pollution, because people, when it comes to air pollution, usually talk about, automobiles, vehicles. But there are many other sources we have, noticed in and around Guwahati, which have been contributing constantly to particle pollution and also gases pollution. For example, trash burning has been very common, particularly in the season of winter.
Yes,
trash burning is very common.
So basically more than one factor. Sorry to interrupt you there. We'll come to more of that in course of a discussion. Basically more than one factor definitely contributing to this. Dr. Chabukdara, it's not just about air pollution. Even our water bodies are getting contaminated by the day. Yes. And while when we mean pollution, we just talk about air pollution mostly. Even this is a big concern, because that is where our drinking water comes from. That is where we depend, a lot of lives depend on that, aquatic life and the entire ecology.
Yes, very true actually. Whenever we speak of the pollution, we basically talk about air pollution or water pollution. The main issue with the pollution is that basically the pollutants, when we say, it doesn't understand the boundary actually. Suppose if we are facing problem in Guwahati, sometimes it may be the source can be somewhere else. So source monitoring or source analysis is very important. Plus regular monitoring of the pollutants is very important to get the updated status. Suppose if we do the monitoring now, and if we forget for a couple of days, we do not know the status. And the problem with this pollutant is that some of the pollutant, they can have very acute effect, but the other, they can have chronic effect, which is not visible instantly. So that can be also very dangerous when it contains especially the toxic compounds in it. Yeah.
So regular monitoring is something that is the need of the hour. Dr. Pranab Nath, disposal of garbage,
Yes.
collection of garbage,
Yes.
that is also one of the major contributors to the
Yes,
pollution
yes.
in the city. And do you see things improving as of now, or things such as static, or maybe going for the worse? Because the pollution levels are not coming down by any means.
The process actually is, I mean, improvement is there. It is only quantitative, not qualitative. What happens? I mean, garbage or waste matter, as we call it. Once it is actually generated, it has to be processed. It is not just to be thrown away or discarded at the roadside or in the dustbin. Actually, the concept of clean city or clean it is actually free of dustbin. It's called a dustbin free clean city. So the garbage or I mean domestically generated domestic waste, once it is generated, it should not even touch the ground until and until it reaches the point of processing. And the basic I mean basic concept is that garbage, once it is generated, it has to be segregated. We all know that in a I mean we can divide.
We have organic and inorganic
Yes,
garbage
yes,
that needs
yes.
to be segregated. The project is on at various cities of the country. But
Yes.
how do you see this garbage disposal contributing to the pollution scenario in the city right now? That is my specific question to you.
The garbage, I mean, as we are seeing that garbage is, I mean, it is very, I mean, ubiquitous. That I mean, everybody can see that garbage dumpings are there on the roadside everywhere, in the every, I mean, by lane everywhere. Even whenever there is a free space, I mean, you can see garbage dumping there.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's.
So what we are doing in the name of, I mean, cleaning is we are only shifting the garbage. We are not processing it, we are shifting the garbage from one place to another. And so I mean the garbage, I mean there are many technical aspects regarding garbage disposal and garbage processing. So we are not being able to.
So it's not just about shifting and dumping the garbage on a particular site, but what do you do with, how do you dispose it properly? How do you, that's the main concern, and that is what needs focus. I'll come to you, Professor Mohanta. How do you see in the last decade and a half, with the growing urbanization and of course with the growing pollution levels, did you notice a kind of a change in the climatic conditions in this city, which has long been green and bustling, but of course with rapid urbanization, a lot of construction activities going on throughout the city? How do you see things change in regard to this?
Yeah, as far as pollution is concerned, what I say is very alarming is the black carbon, the concentration of black carbon. In a recently done study, I mean few years back, a research team from the Desert Research Association, United States, Nevada, I think. So what they said, like the winter concentration of this black carbon in Guwahati is much larger than any of the cities in India, United States or China. And during summer, this black carbon, not only it's I mean having a regional effect that we have a large number of asthma cases and large number of respiratory disease. In a way, this black carbon is also contributing to the larger scale climate. It is cooling down the glaciers. It is forming a layer over the, and this has specifically been pointed out to the carbon that gets emitted, because we have lot of problems because of this large number of vehicles and very limited roads. And there is a lot of congestion and all the time this idling of engines. And maybe this is also burning of other waste. All this, it's contributing, I mean, to such a level. In one of the studies done by Center for Northeast Studies for Air Pollution in Guwahati, they found somewhere around 45%, 44.5% and 40% of the residents in Khanapara they have eye problems, they have skin diseases, and they have sneezing. And the same figure goes for
these are indeed alarming, alarming figures.
And on top of that, the paper demands that this black carbon has increased the city temperature in last 6 years almost by 2 degrees. I mean, like a solution to this rising black carbon is a serious problem for us now.
Okay, so Professor Gokhale, Guwahati is not the only city in India which is growing haphazardly. I mean, we have it everywhere. None of our cities are planned, none of our urban places are planned. But why this alarming black carbon levels in Guwahati that makes it one of the worst, not only in the country but the whole world?
See, there are three important reasons. There are three important sources which contribute to black carbon into the atmosphere of Guwahati. One is household pollution. We cannot ignore it, right? In household pollution, there is a firewood burning. There is, for cooking, firewood and other types of, straws or biomass, is burnt, which contribute to black carbon in a huge, amount. Other thing is vehicular pollution, right? Then, other than this is trash burning. As I said, so what we have been observing, we have been measuring, monitoring, black carbon in at various places in the city of Guwahati, and we have seen that almost 30 to 35%, of the fine particles, contains, black carbon. All right.
Yeah. But
So-
I'd like to join you. According to another peer-reviewed journal, this black carbon in Guwahati, and I'm talking about the Brahmaputra Valley at large, was the cause for 2005 and 6 and 2008 and 9 floods, and which cost somewhere around $25 million in agricultural loss. And apart from this, some more abnormal patterns have been connected to this large rise in the black carbon over our city.
Absolutely, because we cannot probably attribute it just to vehicular emission and household pollution and burning of trash, because that's probably going around in most Indian
No, this
cities.
this is going up, and this is going up and forming a blanket not only over these glaciers, thereby warming the glaciers. It is also in a way warming the atmosphere by absorbing a lot of the radiations which would have gone out.
There could be one more reason, as we know that Guwahati is basically situated in such a way that there is a river on one side and mountain on the other side, and inside there is a Guwahati. So what happens is that many days in a year we experience foggy condition, right? That does not allow the particles which are released or originated within the city from escape out of the city, and that is the reason that even night time, even when operations, most of the polluting activities are stop, we find that black carbon concentrations present in the atmosphere is very high.
And Dr. Chabudhara, our water bodies are going for a toss. I mean, there is always a talk of cleaning up the rivers, cleaning up the, what once were rivers have now almost turned into drains, but nothing substantial is being achieved, and that is really serious.
Yes, actually, truly speaking, cleaning up the rivers is a real challenge. Actually, it's a very complicated thing to do. So before the river reached to that level that it need to be cleaned up, say for example the case with Yamuna river or Ganga river, our Brahmaputra, if we speak about it, that although it is at alarming level, but the situation is not at par with Yamuna or Ganga. So the thing that we can do at this level now, at the current situation, is that we can do a tap at the sources of the pollutant. Suppose it's tributaries, small tributaries, which is actually the main source of pollutant, getting discharged into the main river, I would say, the bigger one. So how the things are getting treated, before discharging it to the river, whether we are following, we have proper guideline, discharge standards.
So is there a complete lack of awareness across the state that is leading to this situation? We can have guidelines in place, but if there is no awareness and of course no monitoring agency or the law enforcing agencies, of course, to try and impose some punitive measures.
Yes, actually it needs a comprehensive approach, I would say. Comprehensive approach means that if the water body or any component of the environment, because environmental component, whether it is air or water, it is not an isolated one. So if any component of the environment is affected, that means who is going to get affected. We should always remember the thing that it is the source pathway receptor concept. It is based on that.
Because
what is the source?
Floods, they are responsible for large aerosol particles. I mean, all of during this rains, all these floods.
Yeah,
I mean,
and the sources, it can be both point and non-point. Non-point sources, it is very difficult to control them. But point sources, we can easily control them. Like point sources, we can identify that and then do the treatment. Because we do not have proper sewage treatment plant also. Whatever we are discharging from the household itself, they are just going to the rivers somewhere or other. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
So
perhaps that is the
important.
single most biggest
Yes.
contributing factor.
And in India, in the whole India itself, sewage is a very big problem actually that we are facing. And suppose the river is polluted, means some aquatic fauna is getting affected. And if fish dies, people will say maybe it is because of the toxic agent, but may not be it is because of the toxic agent, but maybe because of the reduced dissolved oxygen level, which is because of high organic load actually. So we have to know the reason actually, and for that proper monitoring, proper this one, and comprehensive approaches. Who is going to affect? Social scientists is also required actually, in addition to the researchers and all.
Do you have enough in place to go for proper monitoring that we are talking about, Professor Mahanta? We can go on and on. We can go on and about it. You know, this is required.
Totally
that is required.
lacking.
Proper monitoring. Changing of things as a source point. But do we have at all, or even 50% of the resources in place to go for it?
No, presently there
If
is
not, where are we heading?
We are heading towards chaos. I mean, look at the Guwahati infrastructure. There is no plan in buildings. What we are doing is we are making most of the land, I mean, we are concretizing most of the land. There is hardly any groundwater recharge. And what's happening is on the land, this a very small rain bringing in huge flash floods in most of the regions. And sadly, we don't have any monitoring kind of agency or monitoring kind of plans with GMC or let's say state government to study how much of water is coming at one location and how much things are getting damaged, and which is actually going to be the problem when we try to find a solution. So without this data, we cannot find a solution. And looking at Guwahati, the way it is shaped and the way it is spreading out, it's spreading out at the cost of a lot of ecosystems, which is, I mean, these were wetlands and rivers. We are encroaching into that, but we don't have a plan. What do we do with the sewage water? I mean, we just use sanitary tanks, and that cannot be a kind of solution for us. We need a proper sewage which takes it out and gets treated at least before releasing it, because all this water either it is going to Borolu or it is going to Deeper Bill. And Borolu, hardly there is any ecosystem, which is surviving, and hardly it's a river. But this will be bad if this garbage starts polluting the nearby water bodies, because these water bodies, they act like our kidneys. I mean, for the groundwater, it purifies, fixes, and gives it back to us.
So we may be heading towards chaos. That's what Professor Mahanta says here. Is Guwahati unable to handle the rate of rapid urbanization? This is the question we'll take, but just after a short break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond the Bites. We're discussing high pollution levels in Guwahati. What is the solution? What is the way forward? Professor Gokhale, just before the break, Professor Mahanta here mentioned that we might be heading towards a chaos. Guwahati is not being able to handle the kind of rapid urbanization it is witnessing, doesn't have the infrastructure to handle. Is it contributing a lot to the pollution levels, and what could be done immediately to negate the situation?
Definitely. Urbanization is definitely contributing to the rising air pollution. But there is no one department. We cannot single out one, section, department responsible, for controlling air pollution or for taking some appropriate measures to control air pollution. We need a cross-departmental efforts, to address this issue. For example, if you talk about trash burning, it is the municipal, authorities which is supposed to take, proactive steps and prevent all these, things happening in the city. If it comes to, vehicular pollution, it is the transport department, is to take, some proactive steps and to improve the traffic flow in the city, reduce bottlenecks, increase the traffic speed, so that eventually the emissions coming out from vehicles, would reduce. Similarly, the construction activities, similarly the stone crushing units and those sort of activities are there. Similarly, small factories are many located here and there in Guwahati, contributing to black carbon and particles. So Pollution Control Board basically has to generously invest into upgrading their technology, upgrading their infrastructure. What they have been doing, is the manually they are, monitoring air quality, which is not enough, which does not give us a real picture of the, air pollution. What they need to do is to go for continuous air quality monitoring stations, and they have to identify very strategic locations within the Guwahati city, locate them, and real-time measurements they should be carrying out. They should, regularly, continuously monitor the air quality data, so that they can, they can even publish the air pollution index based on the real-time data and make people aware what is happening in your area, what are the sources which are contributing to air pollution.
Absolutely. But Professor Mahanta, are we doing the basics right? I mean, open burning of trash is very common.
No, let's take some.
Each one of us has witnessed that. And coming to vehicular emissions,
yes,
probably over, according to a report, over 50% of the vehicles plying in the city, of the lakhs of vehicles plying in the city, do not possess emission clearance.
It's 70%. It's not 50.
70. I said over 50%.
Yeah,
so yeah,
every day around 5 lakhs, vehicle they ply on the Guwahati roads. Even 70% of it don't have any emission control, and the agencies we are supposed to be measuring it, they are not equipped to go for Bharat Stage 4 and these superior models. So this is one problem. We have new generation cars, but there are very few emission measuring kind of centers which measure such engines. Top of that, there is hardly any parking problem, a huge parking problem, sorry. And that is contributing to the emission scenario in a large way. There's looking at the amount of congestion, and we see a couple of multi-level parking, they are trying to make. So this will be very important that we have this parking problem solved. Second, we need public transport. Lack of public transport, you find
proper public transport.
So in Guwahati, this is non-existing. We have just 2 roads connecting the whole of the city.
Absolutely.
And we don't have any public transport. And if you look at the road, these 2 main roads, you'll find 50% of the people, they're driving one car. There's a one person car, most of the cars. And there is no this thing of sharing, or these concepts are not there.
Carpooling.
So we need an awareness from even to the public. Even government needs to change the infrastructure. And they needed a public awareness. They should know that what they are doing is going to affect their children. It's, going to make the place, it's for the future generations. Hardly we are leaving anything, and this is something not very difficult to understand, that we are stealing from them.
I would substantiate this, that there are many vehicles which are now older than 15, 20 years, still running in Guwahati, and they are the main contributor to very toxic fine particles in the city.
Even as steps are being taken by the government to do away with these vehicles, like recently you'll find a lot of new auto rickshaws hitting the streets. That's because those which are older than 15 years have been asked to go off the roads. But again, in a country like ours, in a city like this with the population, for the benefit of the public, you cannot change that overnight. So these are some of the bottlenecks that we have to face.
More than 1.5 million people living in Guwahati, and this number of roads, it's all they have to go, there is to commute.
Absolutely. Have we also failed? Have we also failed in terms of as public, as general public, to dispose our garbage? We seem to be littering everywhere.
Yes.
We seem to be littering everywhere, and that is a matter of concern. Because the municipality cannot be everywhere 24/7. It's our responsibility as citizens, but that doesn't seem to be happening.
Yes, I think the voluntary organizations have got a lot to do in this aspect because government mechanism is doing its part, but to reach the people effectively and to communicate the methods which need to be followed. I mean, voluntary organizations have got a role to play in this particular area. Like ours at Environ, we are advocating source segregation of garbage.
So do you suggest locality-based voluntary organizations? Is that the solution?
Maybe actually
is that the way to go? Because you need hundreds of them.
Yes,
you need hundreds of them to be effective.
But we need a coordination mechanism at on the part of the government agencies actually, and the municipal authorities can play this role. And like you said a little while ago, some punitive, I mean, enforcement is also necessary. First, people need to be educated, and and for that we need also research-based data, like Professor Mahanto was saying. And after that, motivation is another part, motivating people, and for that message should go to people and everybody. I mean, for that actually education is should be the medium. Educating the children.
But do you think
enforcement
is lacking big time?
Enforcement is lacking actually.
Leading to a situation, of course.
Yes,
education, making people aware, that's a long term and that is a continuous process that has to go on. But at this moment, for immediate solutions, enforcement is missing.
Enforcement is missing badly actually. I mean, if we talk of Guwahati particularly, enforcement is not at all existent. But there are cities in India where we have seen that, I have particularly seen for myself, that people actually are afraid of throwing, littering. I mean, the shopkeeper himself have sometimes told that don't throw it here. The police, if the police says you will have to pay some fine. So cities in India are there, cities like that. So we need actually some kind of enforcement also against littering.
Again, supply of drinking water has been a major problem in Guwahati, and look at the condition now. You know, every new housing project that is coming up, you know, if you dig deep for the water, there's no water supply.
Yes.
And probably the drinking water being used is not safe either, because you are forced to drill out that water and consume that, use it for all other purpose. So what took the city so long, you know, and it's the work is still on to have a drinking water project, a water supply project, and how is it contributing to the ill health of the people probably?
Yes. Actually, when we say about the drinking water, this one supply, the drinking water is definitely related to our health actually. When we say water quality, like one serious threat can be because of the microbial contamination, the other could be because of chemical contamination. So when we speak about the groundwater, actually it is considered to be safe from microbial contamination, but it can contain some toxic contaminants which can be from geogenic source itself. In that case, it is very difficult to go for treatment also. But the thing is that because of, suppose Dr. Nath had said, because of organized dumping of waste and all, they can also cause some leakage into the groundwater, and even if the sewerage system is not proper, they can also contaminate the groundwater. So in that way, the sewerage system should be proper.
How do you rate the sewerage system in Guwahati? As per your experience, if you would want to comment on that.
Yeah, that can be seen. I mean, when there is no rainfall, then we can see that it's working fine. But whenever there is a rain, we can hardly
find any. So there are problems.
There are
problems, and everything boils down to the flash floods that we witness every now and then.
That leachate is actually not only polluting the groundwater, the water supply pipes. I mean, at many places they can be seen as broken. I mean, the leachate contamination is there in the supply water also. So that is causing a health concern.
And if sewerage is leakage, then it can cause microbial contamination in the groundwater itself also. Not only chemical contamination, even the microbial.
So Professor Gokhale, what is the way out? I mean, are we heading towards doom, or there is still things can be done to save the day? Because the way things are going, the way things are growing.
Yeah.
Of course, government is taking efforts, planting trees, doing all it can from its sides, but it's just not proving enough to contain the situation.
Now, what we need to do is we basically have to come together. I mentioned about 3 important departments which can play very important roles in cleaning the city: municipal authorities, transport department, and pollution control board. If they come together and chart out a plan for the Guwahati city that what should be done, right, then I think, and prepare action plan for the society, for air pollution separately, for water pollution, for solid waste management, right, and then only things will improve with time.
Why do you think the solid waste management program has failed, or what are the concerns that you have with it?
Actually, the solid waste management, whole mechanism of solid waste management rests on 3 R's, as we all know. It is reduce, reuse, and recycle. So we are not doing anything to reduce the generation of solid waste. That is a major concern. And coming to recycling and reusing, we are still at a very infantile stage. So particularly talking of the practices that are going on in Guwahati. So we, all the dumped, garbage, whatever we see on the roadside or at the dumping site, 70% or more, maybe more, of it is composed of the organic waste. That organic waste, if we become cautious, and if we put some effort, then that can be reduced at source itself.
Do you see segregation, segregation of organic and inorganic waste at source?
Yes,
at source
yes.
has not yet taken off.
Not
in
at all,
Guwahati.
not at all. In some places you will see some green beans and red beans kept.
Absolutely. But then they are ultimately
minimal,
they are all
ultimately
dumped
they are
in the
dumped
same
together.
place.
At the
That's what is
collection
happening.
point and the transportation part, ultimately they are dumped together, and that causes the main problem, because once it is mixed, that cannot be even processed.
So why do you think is the JMC facing that problem, not being able to implement that for so long? I know you cannot talk for them, but
Yes, yeah.
from your experience.
I think the focused approach is lacking.
Focused approach is
approach
missing.
lacking.
Focused
And
approach
the
is
coordination mechanism also very poor. And people who are doing it, they should be, technically more enlightened even. The technical part of the technical knowledge is also lacking. The people are doing just for the sake of doing it. They don't know what is the basics, or why they should be separated. Why the basic thing is that if they are not separated, at the processing point, nothing can be done.
So Professor Mahanta, despite this alarming levels of pollution, despite Guwahati being tagged as one of the most polluted cities in the country, it seems that there is no wake-up call among the stakeholders.
Yeah, it's a question of awareness. So what I mean is, number one, as far as vehicular pollution is concerned, these traffic rules must be, strictly implemented. Second, we need to raise awareness, use media, and also have some extensive training of taxi drivers, usual drivers, government officials, and this training basically on what are the consequences of all this pollution, all this air pollution. And then another culture we need to develop, it is what you call as commuters culture, where we use public transport and we share our these things. And of course, we need very upgraded emission measuring these centers which can really do this. But on top of everything, we need research. Without research, nothing can come out. All the efforts will go in vain. We need the observation stations. We need the data.
We need research, and for the research to reach out to the people, not just research to stay in the
So, but there is
labs.
no research before any plans. Whatever someone is digging it, no one looks into investing some money on taking the data for few years and then just trying to find a solution. So I think lack of research is the problem, is the biggest problem in finding any solutions, because government is least concerned about research activities, whatever field.
And that's probably true for most part of the nation, not just about Assam. So Professor Gokhale, coming back to the major concern here, is the issue of pollution getting sidelined because of say other issues, you know, which our political parties like to take up? The question is a bit political in nature, maybe jobs, employment, roads, infrastructure, you know, and nobody probably in this country takes pollution as an issue. Of course, in Delhi we had seen what happened in the last 2 winters, forcing the governments, you know, to take note, both the center and the state. But then we don't see that happening anywhere else.
Yeah, that
unfortunately.
is true. Yes, that is true. I agree with you. We have seen what is happening in Delhi. We have been seeing rather for the last 2 years, 2.5 years. But we don't want Guwahati to become Delhi. Before Guwahati becomes Delhi, we need to take some proactive steps. And the beginning that I see is that Pollution Control Board should, you know, begin with replacing their, you know, age-old technology with the new ones and tell people about the pollution scenario in Guwahati every day. That would, you know, create awareness among people, and also news medias should also focus on regularly focus on the health effects of the rising air pollution in the city, and that is what would, you know, bring out basically a kind of annoyance of people, you know, would come out, and that would, you know, probably force the local bodies and the regulatory enforcement agencies to take some appropriate actions.
Yes, media can play a big role in this actually, in creating awareness also, and which are fact based. Like Dr. Mohanto was saying, it should be, what media can do is that it can regularly focus on this, and it can present factual data that this is happening, so that can play a big role in motivating people.
Yes, and of course it's not just, yeah, go ahead.
See, it is known that we have solid waste management problem, right? But we don't get to know what is the exact scenario, how much solid waste is generated, how it is segregated, what is being done. All those things we are never, you know, shared with people, yes, isn't it? So there should be a system which would, you know, regularly disseminate, you know, information to the public, so that they would know what is happening in their city. Then only there will be a voice from people that you need to, you know, take some appropriate measures, actions in order to control or take stock of the situation and control air pollution.
So lack of research and the dissemination of data to people is a major concern that needs to be addressed. People should be aware what they are faced with. Only then probably the awareness will come full-fledged. We'll take a very short break on this note. Don't go anywhere. Lots more coming up on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond the Bites. We're discussing pollution, high pollution levels in Guwahati. What is the way forward? How to save the day for our next generation? Well, Professor Mahanta, it's clear that the enforcing agencies, the authorities have a lot to do. There's a long way to go. There's need for more cooperation. There's a lot of room for research. But at this moment, can we just sit back as people, as organizations, as individuals, as educationists, can we just sit back and watch, or should we come and act? Because it is people coming together to make a change, and that's true for every field. Is that not where the role of NGOs, you know, who claim to be environment-based NGOs, is it not where they come in? And they have a big role to play, maybe a bigger role than the GMCs and the pollution control boards.
Yes.
And I'll take the same question to Professor Gokhale.
Okay, I just give you a small example. When I was very young, like I was in class 5, 6. So if you come to my class and ask how many of your students have asthma, hardly you will find 1 or 2 raising the hands. Or in 3, 4 classes, you will find 1 or 2 guys. Today you go to any school in Guwahati and get into any class and ask how many of you have got asthma. More than 40% students will raise their hands. Yeah, even more. So point is that
alarming.
No, this is because of us. What we throw out adversely comes back to us in different ways, through food chain. and it is us who has to pay the price. We don't have to save the environment. Environment is going to save itself. It has always been there, but we need to save ourselves from what we have done to the environment. So, like that is one point very, very serious about Guwahati, is that if at any point the environment strikes back in Guwahati, we will have a big, big, big tragedy. We don't even have for earthquakes, don't even have roads to go for these fire brigades. And this we should realize first, that we are the problem, and we are
and we have to be the solution.
Yeah. Our daily life, like morning thinking about the children's school and commuting to office, whole day working, and then thinking of mortgages, and this is too narrow a way of to live at this point of time, because we have a huge carbon footprint, we use huge amount of energy, and it is our responsibility that for that energy, what we are doing, these are what the economists call as externalities, for which we don't pay. We don't pay when we put oil in our car. We are not paying the full price of that oil. That oil is causing this asthma. It is doing a lot of harms, but we are not paying anything for that. So one solution which a lot of people think can save us is putting a price on carbon. You emit more carbon, you pay more tax. You emit less carbon, you pay.
Would you like to react to that, Professor Gokhale?
It is understood that pollution has been killing us slowly. So we have to take appropriate measures. We have to, do a lot of research, but not only that, we have to, generate a lot of data for the city. Of course, there are many cities we can learn from them where, several air pollution studies have been carried out. Say, for example, Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, Bangalore. Right, these studies can become a best studies, for us to take some appropriate action. But what is missing in Guwahati is the data. We do not have data, isn't it? That is why I said we have to take issues in an integrative manner. Say, for example, household pollution and outdoor pollution. We cannot separate. We have to have a strategy to deal with them in an integrative fashion. I told about the respiratory illnesses, right? We have to, what is the conventional way today to deal with air pollution, or to tell people about air pollution, is to simply measure the pollution, right? But we are affected, our health are deteriorating day by day because of the exposure to air pollution. So we have to move from simply knowing what is the pollution scenario in the city to how much we are exposing.
And it's probably not only just about telling people about the pollution measurement, but what it means to their health, what that particular measurement means to their health. Now, of course, Professor Gokhale, an institute like yours, the IIT Guwahati, must have done a lot of study research on various subjects, including this. Does that research, go ahead, trickle down to the level, and is any action being taken? Of course, it's not the IIT's responsibility to ensure that, it's the government's responsibility, but is it being used commonly? From your own personal experience, do you find that being used by the governments of the day to improve things?
No, I have never come across any report or any news wherein our research has been appreciated, and also we have been consulted that how we can transform these things into implementable, practically adoptable actions. So that is why I said there are many local agencies, they have to involve academia into decision making. What should be done? How we can go ahead with? How we can implement the action plans? How we prepare action plans? What we need to do? What data we need to generate? We have never been consulted.
So there seems to be a communication gap, Professor Mahanta.
Yeah. So okay, I'll tell you. This awareness raising has to start right from the kids. Because one thing we know about us, our democracy, is that we vote. Now we need to raise the awareness at the level of the children that at least when they are buying something, they are approving of this thing and they are voting. And now they should be aware of how this thing was made, what went into the whole process, how much people got affected. And this awareness is what is going to change us. I mean, change. This is a thinking disorder that we have. And children are a very good way to teach the adults how to learn, so that they become more responsible consumers.
How big a role does awareness play in waste management, very shortly? And of course, the waste management scenario in Guwahati, what should be the way forward?
First of all, the basic need is to make the people aware of the technical aspects, I mean, this is not very difficult one. Simple thing is that the garbage or waste matter, once it is produced, it should not touch the ground until it reaches the processing point of processing. That's the that's a fundamental thing it should we should follow, and that should be should settle in
fundamental thing that is being violated every moment,
everywhere, and it should not be mixed. The biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste matter should not be mixed. It should be separated and segregated. So that is not what is being done here now. It is not segregated at the source. It is I mean, it is being tried to segregate at the point of processing only. After collecting them together, the segregation efforts are made at the point of processing only. That is what is being followed here. We need to segregate the two categories
and you know, just moving away from a technical aspect, how is it affecting the pollution scenario in the city, you know?
That is contributing to the bulk. That is contributing to the bulk. The bulk is the main problem. The bulk of the dump garbage everywhere we can see that is contributing to the I mean total bulk of the problem. If we could reduce the generation of the I mean dumping of the organic waste at the roadside or at the dumping places, so we could have transformed it into the composted manure. And that is nowadays everybody is talking about organic food, organic cultivation. So we could very well I mean channelize this organic waste to vermicomposting or composting. Like
yes, again there have been reports of open burning of waste,
yes,
by the authorities. Okay, the site where the garbage is dumped, open burning of the garbage and waste by the authorities or by the contractors employed by them. Isn't that a crime?
That is a crime, definitely, yes.
Coming from
that is being I mean done. I think if it is being done, that is out of some compulsion also, because the level of the dumping ground which is at Boragaon, that is also I mean that has been crossed long back. I mean it is I mean there is a prescribed height of the landfill site. That landfill site height has been already crossed. And people, there were news that authorities are thinking of, I mean, shifting the dumping ground to somewhere else in the city nearby. So that is the crisis actually. We are, I mean, we're transporting all the garbage to the dumping site only and doing nothing else. And the Deepor bill, I mean, we all know that the Deepor bill is going, I mean, getting affected. And the aquatic fauna, I mean the leachate that I mean usually goes to the water of the Deepor bill.
Absolutely, the pollution invariably trickles down to the water bodies. Now, sewage being drained to the water bodies. There is a practice we see across the nation, be it the Ganga, be it the Yamuna, be it the Brahmaputra here.
Yes.
Is there no alternate solution in this country?
No, we
because that is a very common practice.
Yes.
And not only in Assam, but that's across states. We have a river, we dump the sewage into the river.
Yes, actually the problem is that we do not have this plan for the urbanization, actually how we are going or how we are planning the cities. City planning, proper planning of city, or we are heading towards being a smart city. The thing is that we have to consider environment as an important component of planning process, and we need to learn as Professor Gokhale, I agree with him that we need to learn from other cities. Suppose some of the cities, they are very good at handling this one water pollution waste or water pollutants. Some cities they are doing very good in waste management, suppose Sikkim or Shillong, we can take example. So we have to learn from different cities how they are dealing with different environmental problems, and we'll try to see the feasibility of replicating the same in our city or not. Like that, likewise we can take the decision and then try to implement the things actually. That way, I think we can move forward actually.
Going forward with this discussion, Professor Gokhale, do you still think there is hope at the end of the tunnel?
Of course, we all have to be optimistic about it, but I again repeat my line: before we become Delhi, we have to wake up and take appropriate actions in a very logical manner, looking at what other cities are doing, what metro cities are doing in order to reduce, air pollution, or to, prevent water pollution, or to treat water. We have to, learn from these cities, right, and also generate data for our own city, and accordingly, have to prepare an action plan. And I request that these enforcement agencies involve academicians, in order to reach proper decision what should be done for the city and how, it can be implemented. After all, we are not decision making. We only study. We generate data, isn't it? But how that will be, transform, who will implement, we do not know anything.
Yes.
Data
That is very important actually.
Of no use until and unless
Yes,
it is used.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And also, if there are, NGOs who are, which are, active in and around Guwahati, they have to, if government is not, paying attention, if they are busy because of some other, issues, as you mentioned, NGOs, have to become proactive and tell government that these are the issues in the city, right? And so that they can take, appropriate action.
What could be the immediate steps to be taken to save our water bodies?
First of all, I would.
Of course, these are long-term plans, but what
yes.
could be done immediately to ensure that things do not get worse than what they are now?
I think that the drainage system should be properly designed or made a proper pipeline or sewerage system that can be improved at the government level actually. Plus, then that can be done, and then immediately I would say even the awareness program is also very important aspect. Yes, and the source control, especially the source control is very important aspect actually. That can be done immediately.
Your mantra for solid waste management?
Educate people, like he said, educate children, because children are the best enforcers in this aspect particularly. Children can be the best enforcing agents. To educate people and motivate people, and for that there should be a coordinated effort. And that should be, there should be a difference between following myths and facts. So what we are pursuing now, most of them are myth based, not fact based. So like for fact based action, we need data, like Professor said. So there should be a concerted and coordinated effort for educating and motivating people, for controlling the source actually. If we do not put a hold on the source of polluting agents or pollution, then at the other end there will be no end to activities. We need to control the source. That's
Controlling the source, and all the stakeholders coming together.
I would like to add, like sewage treatment plant. That we can start looking for that also, for Guwahati city especially, to deal with the sewage waste and all.
Absolutely, Professor Mahanta. Are you happy with the steps taken by the government, to keep the city green, especially the projects taken up? If not at the heart of Guwahati.
I haven't seen a project really succeeding, such kind of a project in Guwahati. But what I stress is.
And what is the way forward, if you can just add?
Yes, what I say
also.
is awareness is the only way we can change the situation. And what I want to say is that we are the last generation in this planet, first generation in this planet to feel all this crisis, and we'll be the last one who can find a solution for it. Because after us, there'll be no time. It'll be way too late for our children to really do something which can take us back. What I am saying is we are at a tipping point, what they call is scientifically tipping point, and it's time people wake up. This is not only for us, this is also for the whole planet. This is for the whole future generation, our children.
Absolutely, absolutely. Time people wake up. We cannot just sit and wait for the government to do everything for us. Things begin at home. We should do all we can to ensure to lower the pollution levels. Of course, the state has a bigger role to play, but that does not absolve us from our responsibilities. So the need of the hour is for the stakeholders to come together. More research and the data should reach the people. They should realize how dangerous this air pollution is to them. On that note, we'll take goodbye for today. Do join us for another episode of Beyond the Bites at the same time next week. Till then, stay safe, stay well.